I bet it's set to a different thing now, isn't it? Check. There we go.
Next comment on Facebook is going to be, so loud.
So loud. Oh my God.
What's our, what's the chat pop out?
It's in the show notes at the top.
Hey, it's right there in the show notes at the,
All right.
There we go.
Okay. So, oh man, that means they didn't hear any about us talking about Pokemon Red.
Oh.
Oh, I remember what I was trying to say was how strangely they tried to make the first season of the Pokemon anime like a primer on how to play the game. To the point where they make a point of showing when Ash catches his 6th Pokemon, like the ball just disappears.
Oh, yeah. Like he caught it and then it like it did teleport away from his hand.
Yeah. Like they never show that. I don't think it ever gets shown ever again in the anime.
Nope. Just that one moment.
Yeah. Yeah, Tyler's in the chat and he's like, "Really?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I want to say it's like episode 3 or 4 and it's on Netflix. I can never get the best posture for this stuff because like I either slouch way too far down or I'm like super high up in the air. Okay. All right. And you've still got the thing going, right?
What thing?
The sound, that one. Is it still delayed?
Oh, hang on. I locked it.
Oh no.
Nope, hang on. There we go.
Was it still delayed?
No, it sounds
Okay.
I think I broke.
What? No, broke what? Broke what?
I broke the one button. I can't do the fart noise.
Oh. Did you like change the hotkey on it?
No, I just touched it like 7 times in a row, and it froze.
Oh. You could always.
Nope, we're tired of that.
You could always close out the sound bite. Oh. All right, other stuff works, so I don't care.
I care. That's all right. I know how to do things.
All right.
You taught me how to do things, Chris. You shouldn't do that.
Yeah, well. Hey, my little eyeball says there's 7 people out there. So hello, you 7 people. And by that I mean the 4 people and then Philip for 3 times. And 2 of them just left.
Oh.
All right.
They said, "Oh crap, he saw us."
See, I got this. You can see it on the camera now because I've got the camera enabled. But yeah, I have this little Bluetooth keypad that I've rigged up to be a cheap stream mini, so I could just be like boom, 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 boom. Of course, now the capture's not exactly right, so
yeah, it's gonna freak out.
Yeah, because I went to, when I was fixing the audio, I unplugged. Because normally what fixes it is I unplug and replug in the USB that goes to from the router or from the mixer to the computer. For some reason, like it's the equivalent of turning it off and on again.
Mm-hmm.
But when I went to unplug it, what I unplugged instead was the capture card to the computer for the display. So it's all sitting like, I don't know what I'm doing. Oh, well.
Can you kids get off my lawn?
You dang kids. I go into studio, and I'm back using regular OBS. So, all right, just give us like 1 second, and I will get the actual show going. There we go. Cool. So if I do that, haha, got it working again. There we go. All right.
All right.
We've dilly-dallied long enough. That number just keeps going down.
It does.
I think it's just you and Tyler now. All right, so let's start the show in 3, 2, 1. Thanks to our patrons for sponsoring this episode and making this episode happen. If you want to get special stuff like the before and after bits, then you need to head over to patreon.com/boardsandSwords. Live from Swordplay Studios, it's time for Boards and Swords.
Whoop, whoop, yippee. Woo.
As Philip finishes playing me a jazz beat. All right, that's it. This is Boards and Swords. This is the podcast where we talk about board games, specifically bad jokes, good folks, and a little bit of games every now and then. I'm one of your hosts. I'm one of those good folks that I put in quotation marks. My name's Chris Renshaw. My partner in crime is also here as well, Mr. Philip Herbig, who's again just that voice in the background you'll hear.
I am what goes bump in the night.
Oh, are you?
Yes.
Oh, so that's what that sound was. So, Chris,
I know what evil flaps in the night. I am Darkwing Duck.
I am the toaster that toasts the bread of justice, or something. It was always something like weird like that.
It was something just so Wait, that's on Disney Plus, isn't it?
I think so.
I don't know. Gundam might have to wait.
What do you mean? Oh, here we go. Yeah. I'm the surprise in your cereal box.
I was like, I could finish watching Gundam. I could watch Darkwing Duck. I don't know.
I am the thing that goes bump in the night. Wait, why did it move? Like I was watching something and it goes, oh. Oh, here it goes. I am the terror that flaps, and then I am the switch that derails your train. I'm the neurosis that requires a 500-hour shrink.
Wow.
That one
got a little real. Like.
I am the spider that nips at your neck.
That's kind of kinky. Like some people are into that. It's supposed to be a kid's show. Well, then again, a lot of those kid shows had adult jokes thrown in there.
I feel like that's the only way that the animators stay sane. Is they're just like they're writing silly things for kids, but we're just going like, let's see how many people can actually get this. Wink.
Yeah.
That's why you always hear like the Disney like, oh, he hit the ground and sex came up. Like the Lion King with the dirt or whatever.
Yep.
But so yeah, it's after Christmas time, and we're taking a break off from our normal, like this would normally be a guest, but you know, everyone's celebrating the holidays, so there's no point in badgering somebody to come on our poor show. So
hey, you want to come? Hey, come give us clout. Hey.
But we do have some news. First up here, Philip, this is the one I was saying you're gonna really hate. Ares Games is saying Cylon to the Battlestar Galactica license. Yeah, so Ares Games and Universal Brand Entertainment in their Battlestar Galactica license agreement due to expire December 31st. And they even show here the Battlestar Galactica Starship battles. So
Yeah.
sales of products will continue through June 30th, 2021. And they're going to apparently release digital versions of the Faster Than Light expansion pack, which I'm assuming is just more cards.
I actually, so I pulled up the article before and I was reading through. It's like a new rule set. It
Oh.
allows it gives optional rules for different play. Like they throw in advanced faster than light movement, um,
Oh.
extra, like you can throw like long range heavy missiles, small planetoids you can orbit. Like there's missile planetoids, different markers, dust clouds, so like random debris clouds you might run into in space. Yeah, it just adds like probably went through and saw what people were home brewing and was like,
Yeah.
hey, let's make it official and make money off of it.
That's a good idea. I'm going to make money off of it now.
Yep.
Hey, Philip, you're about to have a complete set of a board game.
I do have a complete set of the board game.
Well, meaning like that. Is there going to have other stuff?
I went to the website. I own every mini.
Okay, and they're not going to make any. There's not any other ones in the development that'll happen before.
Not that I saw.
Oh, well, that sucks.
Yeah.
The game was over before you ever played it.
Right? I mean, I demoed it once, and I bought all of it.
Yeah. This is the problem of liking licensed games.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm just like, if I get any news about the Power Rangers board game failing, I'm just there will be a one-man riot.
At least with that, you've got like a metric crap ton. Not an imperial crap ton, but like a metric crap ton.
Yeah. There's like me and 100 other people just keeping that company in business.
Not what are you talking about? Renegade?
Yeah, we're talking about at least that like
couple 100,000. How well did that last Kickstarter do?
That part of the licensing division, like 2 hours.
Yeah, I don't think that's a small trivial amount.
No.
And you got to think there's some that are doing like the retail versions, like the Team Covenant.
Yep.
That aren't even back in the Kickstarter, so I don't know if I'd worry so much about that.
Oh, hey,
one.
look at the featured resources on that news page. Yu-Gi-Oh.
Oh, that's funny. Hey, I actually should bookmark that so I know. Anyways, we'll get. So another news. This one when I was going through my feeds for the show, I saw this one and I kind of went, "Wait, what?" So a new setting is pathfinding its way to the Savage Worlds RPG, and that is Pathfinder is coming to Savage Worlds, which it's like that'd be like saying D&D is coming to Pathfinder. You're like, wait, what? It's apparently like. I love the way they wrote that. This is I'm reading from there's a tabletopgamingnews.com. It's like Pathfinder. It's one of the most popular RPGs out there. Savage Worlds. It's one of the most popular RPG systems out there. I'm like, is it though? Like I know it's got its hardcore fans.
Oh yeah, it's got the.
And I have Savage Worlds. It's over on the shelf. I've just never played it. Pathfinder, you could make that argument. Savage Worlds is like a niche. But at the same time, it's also like a subgroup where there's like versions of the game within Savage Worlds. Like, there's Fate, and then there's all people playing their version of Fate. And just like there's Powered by the Apocalypse. I know Savage Worlds is kind of in the same boat. But the point of this is it's a new rule book, their core rule book that's going to be, it's Pathfinder for Savage Worlds. And it's also going to be a Kickstarter to box set, it looks like. And I'm assuming that it's going to be, here's the official Pathfinder world, Galarion. Now here's how you relate that to the Savage Worlds rule set.
Okay.
So that and some of you might be saying like, why would you do that? And I'm the only thing I could think of is that Pathfinder is really good about putting out new content as far as storylines and like their adventure paths, and just like every month putting out a new part of their story. It's like an LCG where there's a new chapter every month. Same thing with Pathfinder. There's a new chapter to their whatever their current adventure path is, and I think they do 2 a year. And they're written actually really well. Like that's one thing I will say Pathfinder does a lot better than D&D is the original like first person storytelling for Paizo is really really good. Like we're going to derail here for a second because I've talked about this on a blog post, but I've never talked about it here on the podcast. I'm kind of fed up with the fact that D&D and Wizards just keep kind of doing this greatest hits thing for D&D 5th edition. And it's like, oh, you remember that one adventure that people liked? Well, we remade it. You remember that one dungeon that people liked? Well, we remade it. You remember that one setting that people liked? Well, we made a new adventure using that setting. Like, you know, the first scenario was Tiamat. You know, like that's a big, you know, ongoing monster thing. Then the second one was the Princes of the Apocalypse, was all about the Temple of Elemental Evil, classic D&D dungeon that's gotten updated a couple times, and that was the 5th edition version. Out of the Abyss, I don't know as much about because I didn't read through all that book, but I'm pretty sure that one was kind of standalone. Then you had Strahd, which is Ravenloft, which has been overdone several times. Then what was after that? There was the Storm King's Thunder. That one was kind of new. Then Tomb of Annihilation, which was just like, hey, let's take Tomb of Horrors and make it actually good. Not to mention there was that whole book that was like, all we did was just take these old adventures and tales from the Dawning Portal, and it was just like 4 or 5 adventures that they took from old editions and put them in and remade them for 5th edition. It's just like each one is just either a retelling of a storyline or picking up where that storyline left off. That's all D&D 5e has been as far as first party official Wizards stuff.
Right.
Like, I'm like, come on now. You have this like big world you map out, and you only spend all your time in this little tiny corner. It's like the equivalent of how, you know, how many disaster movies only take place in New York and LA.
Right?
Except for at least there's a whole country in the middle.
There is, yes. You're on the opposite side.
But getting back to the point.
2012 also took place in China.
No. Okay. I didn't see 2012.
Yeah, you didn't miss much.
So that's the only thing I could really see for having Pathfinder and Savage Worlds is like that way you're like, oh, I love Savage Worlds. I wouldn't play anything but Savage Worlds, but I'm a little burnt out on ideas. Now I can pick up that Pathfinder Adventure Path, and I have like a translator kind of thing of how I can incorporate these monsters into Savage Worlds.
Yeah.
So, and honestly, another thing about this is one of those products that, like, even though it's put out by established companies, I feel like a Kickstarter makes sense. Because it's one of those like, hey, we have this idea and there's no idea if people actually like this idea. So instead of investing a bunch of money and it being a dud, we're going to put it on the Kickstarter and see if people actually want this. You know what I mean?
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
100%. I mean, like that's Kickstarter's big thing.
Yeah. So, and then
we're going to do a thing.
Yeah. Last one
we're going to do a thing, and we want to see if people are going to enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly. That's why when I see big companies using Kickstarter, especially when it's a thing like we don't know if people want this, so it's a weird. We're trying something new. So we're an established company, but we're trying something new, and we don't know if people like it. So here we're just gonna put it up on Kickstarter. That's what I'm like. Okay, that's not so bad.
Yeah.
So last one here. You're gonna have to vanguard your wallet against, and that is ISS Vanguard from Awaken Realms, who, if you've ever heard of Nemesis and Tainted Grail, Philip may not have. If you may have heard maybe Beetle talk about it in the Slack, is probably about. I know he's mentioned Nemesis once or twice, but this is that same company. I brought this up also. I saw some people talking about it, but it's actually launched now. It's on GameFound instead of Kickstarter, which is, I believe, run by, if not a part of Awaken Realms, it's like the same people, like distinct company, but still similar employees behind it, if you know what I mean.
It's not like we represent but are legally distinct.
Kind of, where it's more of like, hey, we made this board, like two separate companies, but founded under the same people.
Okay.
Where it's like, hey, we made this board game company. Hey, we made this game platform. The two aren't a part of each other, so if one goes under, doesn't affect the other.
There you go. I mean, that's
That sort of thing. But like this game, like a lot of people don't like going away from Kickstarter because you lose some of your. There's a built-in audience of Kickstarter, but this game funded in like 3 minutes.
Oh yeah, and it's been all over my
Oh yeah,
my
they've been doing a huge media push, like advertising push.
like I have done nothing with this game specifically, but any board game ad always pops up with this game.
Yeah. Almost $3 million on their own platform, which means they're getting like all that $3 million just about.
Jeez.
Yeah. So what the game is, it's a space kind of game where it's a lot. Um.
Hang on, Chris. If you're gonna do that, you gotta do that right. It's in space.
In space. So basically it's a game and it has a lot of, it's a lot. There's that thing. So there's a lot in this game. It's like $100 for the base box. And you're playing a sci-fi setting where you go out and do missions and you've got miniatures and that sort of thing. And then when you're done, you come back to the ship, and the ship is like a separate binder that you open up and then like tell stories and do stuff that are on the ship and all the ship kind of adventures that happen along the way. So, and then there's dice and cards and minis. And there's even a whole nother box of minis that's like another 80 something bucks that like replaces, I think you get like cardboard standees for some of the baddies, and it replaces them with full on minis.
Yep.
So when I was reading when I first kind of glanced through this, when it's talking about players are controlling 4 different asymmetric sections: security, recon, science, engineering, onboard ship ISS Vanguard. It reminded me a lot of Gen 7 because that was kind of in that sense. But this looks like someone was like, "Hey, let's make a Mass Effect board game." Like if you look at the design of the ship on some of the Kickstarter, like that looks like it's straight out of Mass Effect. Like, let's take the Mass Effect ship and throw some extra fins on it. So, yeah, core boxes,
80 dice.
Yeah. This is one of those, it seems right up my alley, but it's just so much stuff.
Oh,
yeah, it's $100 for the core box, and then the Vanguard Commander's Pledge is 180. Which this is the part I'd have to have the 180 pledge, and that's the big reason keeping me out, because it's got all the full-fledged minis and that sort of thing, and there's all sorts of stretch goals. Like each day is like a new scenario that gets added.
Yeah, well, it's 2 days from what I'm reading, because like day 1, day 3, day 5, day 7.
Yeah.
So that's. I'm just looking at. I don't think that's to scale though.
Who knows?
on the because like
you can't really
that's not a
take
mini
any of
anymore.
you can't really take any of the scale pieces from these pictures because those things could change. Oh yeah, see, like they give you, like if you scroll down through some of the expansions, you'll see like, oh, here's the standee, here's the mini meaning you need the close encounters box.
Yeah.
So, and it's like, I couldn't get the base version. Look at those standees versus the mini. The mini's like,
Right.
look at this really great thing, and then there's this other thing. Even more dice. Yeah, there's like ship card holder things to help upgrade your ship. You like put a new card in the binder, and that's you upgrading your ship.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a lot. This is one of those I would need to demo because that's a lot of money to get a dud. You know,
What did I went whole ham on something earlier this year.
you
Did I
did,
do
and you
anything
talked about it on
good?
the show. It was like a sci-fi board game, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was only like 2-3 months ago, I think, right?
Was it?
I want to say it was when it was just me and you doing the show.
All right, let me. Oh yeah, Core Space Firstborn.
Yeah.
Yeah. I gotta turn off some of these Kickstarter emails.
All right. So, by the way, I just want to say thank you to everybody. There's been already some that have filled out or sent me emails with some feedback stuff. Thank you to all those. I'm going to let's say, was it January is 31 days?
Yes.
So January 31st is when I will stop the that way we've got at least for people, because I know not everybody listens immediately after the show comes out.
Right.
So, but I will say that those of us, or those few, I think it was about 4 or 5 people that already jumped on it. Each one of you is getting a dice, a dice package, or that that will at minimum contain 2 dice, at maximum contain other stuff that I find and put in there.
That's right.
Just as a thanks for being on your A game. And then I'll choose a couple from the remaining that go in there. So speaking of which, Philip,
Chris.
I got. How was Christmas?
I gotta be honest with you. Christmas was kind of amazing.
Because you didn't have to do anything.
I got left the hell alone.
Yeah, it was kind of nice.
It was so great.
I
got everything I asked for Christmas.
Being left alone.
Well, and I didn't ask for anything.
I actually got board. I actually got board games.
You got board games?
Yeah. So my sister-in-law got me as Secret Santa and got me Catan Starfarers, because we've been going big on the Catan, so I put on my Amazon list. What?
I was agreeing with you.
Oh, okay. We've been going big on the Catan. I put on my Amazon wish list the Catan Starfarers because I didn't want to buy it, on a whim, because it's like $90 because it's like and I was like, man, that's a lot. And then I got it and I'm like, this is a big box. And then also I got a game called Horrified from Chloe, who like Christmas Eve or Christmas Eve, like either Festivus Day or Christmas Eve, sends me a pic of the game Horrified and like, hey, would you play this? And I'm like, yeah, I've actually already played that. And yeah, it was pretty cool. And I start telling her about it. It's a co-op game that's themed around the Universal monsters. So it's got like the Invisible Man and then the thing from the Black Lagoon and like the Blob. And you pick the different monsters, and each monster has a different scenario kind of thing. And then funny enough, like a day later, I get it as a Christmas present. I'm like, gee, go figure. So I haven't broken that open, but we did break open Catan Starfarers. And I got to say, a couple of caveats. A, started playing it 3-player with Chloe, but Chloe quickly lost interest, so we ended up having to scrounge our way 2-player. It was kind of a lot. She's played base Catan, but as I'm trying to explain it, she's just like eyes glazing over, like I have no idea what's going on. So we ended up just kind of like, okay, you can go do something else. We'll play, as opposed to letting it just like her trying to get out of the game as soon as possible kind of thing. So Ashley ended up playing it 1v1, and there was a couple of rules that we got wrong in the beginning and like fixed it halfway. I'm like, oh, well, this would have sped things up, kind of. Like so how much do you remember about Catan?
I remember not a lot, but if I started playing, I'd pick it up really quick.
Okay. So, in Catan Starfarers, it has some of the base mechanics of Catan, but then with like a space exploration game put on top. So there's like 4 planets at the beginning, and each one have like different points you can put your outposts on. And like Catan, you roll dice, and each of the planets have a number, and when that number is rolled, if you've got a base touching it, or if you've got an outpost touching it, you get resources, and then you can spend your turn trading and building stuff. So that's the part that's like Catan. The difference part is not only can you build like the settlements and stuff, you can build ships that like carry so like instead of building like the outpost, you build the colony ship, and you put it you basically build the outpost, put a ship on it, and the ship moves it to a place, and then you take the ship off when it's landed, basically.
Okay.
And then you have to rebuild the ship again for the next outpost thing. So in addition to your normal Catan phases, there's a movement phase where you move your ships down the board you discover these planets deeper and deeper into space, which unlock new numbers that you can then, like more planets rolling the different numbers to getting more resources thing. There's also these little trade hubs where you can interact with these aliens to get like a special bonus. And that sort of thing. And then the last phase is called an encounter phase, which is you have this big plastic ship that's basically a shuffler that has like 6 different plastic balls on inside. So you shake this ship up, and then you turn it over, and there's a little space at the bottom where like 2 lottery balls can fall out.
Okay.
Except for it being really tiny. And based on those balls, determine either A, how fast your ship can move, or B, if you have an encounter, in which case somebody like, think like Scythe, where somebody picks up a card and reads it, and then you determine how you interact with that card.
Yeah.
But unlike Scythe, this one is like, it could be good or it could be bad. And some of them have like flow charts. It's like, you do this. Does this happen? Yes. No. Okay, then maybe this thing happens. And then you can upgrade your ships, and there's a whole lot more to the game. I'm giving a very simple, again, only because I played it once. Even though I
just love one of our board game interactions dealing with flowcharts. It's like, do you have a lot of time? Yes. Do you have a lot of money? Warhammer.
I gotta say though, I really liked that first play that we did of it, especially like it was probably the best type of Catan I've ever played.
All right.
Like, because it takes that Catan piece and adds like a bit more substance to where, there's always those turns of like, well, you're not rolling your numbers, so you're not getting anything, or like you just can't get the right, like there's one resource you can't get. There's so much other stuff you can do. So there's either you could go meet with some of the aliens to get like a bonus to help make up for that not getting a resource, to maybe give you an ability that you could trade 2-to-1 instead of 3-to-1 to get that resource or whatnot. Or it's like, okay, well, I'm not getting anything. Let me build some ships and seed out some colonies on some of those other planets with different numbers so that I have a better chance of getting those. And it's just a lot more like things to do, not as much like waiting around, just waiting for the right numbers to get rolled or the people to get the right resources and waiting for people to trade. It's not as dependent on trading. Like the regular Catan is kind of all about that trading. This has that. So you still have those interactions, but it's not the pivotal part of the game.
Gotcha.
So I think you would like it just because it's space and ships and stuff.
I like space.
So definitely at the price, at the $80-$90, I would not say like if I would not go off of my description and go buy the game. I would, try like maybe there's a tabletop simulator or something probably of it,
Yeah.
or find someone that has it and see if you can borrow it. But yeah, it was pretty sweet. The other big game stuff I've been doing, I can't talk about because it's Yu-Gi-Oh, and I was told that people don't let someone didn't like us talking about Yu-Gi-Oh.
Duel.
So I won't go into details about the game, but I could talk about what I've been doing with it, my experiences. So that's generalized towards games because I've been kind of going overboard on the Yu-Gi-Oh, as you'll find out. But at the same time, it's given me something gaming related to obsess over that I don't necessarily have to play with somebody. Yeah. So I can be like, with a board game, yeah, you can buy more and more board games and learn about them and unbox them and stuff, but there's a limit as to what you can do until you actually sit down and play the game. With a card game and like a CCG, like Magic, any of those types of things, I mean, you can always just keep buying more stuff. And like you can open packs and like be building decks and like thinking about strategies and that sort of thing, which some of that you can do in other board games, but just it's a lot more of I can embrace with that gaming without necessarily having to have another person that I'm playing with, which I'm quickly running to that point where it's like I need to have another person to play with so I can like try out a deck and play and stuff. Because, like, yes, I could play online, but what's the point? If I'm going to play online, I'm going to play other stuff.
This whole year, man.
Yeah. Well, it's also the fact that, like, I don't know anybody that wants to play. Like, I know there are people at the store that play because I've seen them there, but I don't personally, like, I don't hang out with them or know them enough.
Know those guys, yeah.
Yeah, well, like, I haven't
jump in there and be like, "Hey guys, I got a Yu-Gi-Oh deck too."
Well, I mean, I will do that eventually, but I'm saying like I don't regularly talk with those people to be like, "Hey, what do you do? Like, what kind of decks are you like to talk the Yu-Gi-Oh talk, if you will?" So that'll be something. Once the store is able to do events again, I will probably have to jump in on their like Saturday Yu-Gi-Oh stuff.
We'll just need to be like, what did Gen Con do in the stadium? Didn't they have like a marker you could put on the table?
Oh yeah,
of like looking for player, looking for instructor. Yeah. There we go. We'll just get to like put a marker right in your forehead. Just looking for someone to talk to about this.
Looking for duel.
Looking for duel. There we go.
But I did get like a gift card and totally went to High Tide and bought my first booster box of Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and like went through and opened it and got a bunch of stuff, and like sorted them all out and everything, and so now I've got like double the cards I had before. But the cool part is I pulled a collector's rare, which I found a site that sells that buys them, and got like a bonus for using store credit. So once that goes through, I mailed them off today. I'll have enough to buy another booster box.
Oh, there you go.
I sold like 5 cards and got like $66.
Jeez.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what I've been doing, because I can just sit there, just open packs and keep spreadsheets of all the cards I have and organizing binders and sleeving cards and all that kind of organizing stuff that you do in the background when you're waiting for a game to happen.
Yeah.
What about you? What have you been playing?
So
Destiny 2?
we switched into Destiny a couple weeks back, and they've been doing their Christmas event, and it's another So I was reading an article. Apparently, this is not the first time this has happened.
Uh-oh.
Um, there is there's a community aspect to the event. So it's you have to collect an item called Dawning Spirit, and um, there's an individual goal, and then there's also a community based goal. So the community, based on like I think it ends sometime within the first 10 days of January. The event ends. I'm not 100% certain, but based on how much of this resource had been generated and like average resource per person per day and that kind of stuff, the community was just 100% on track to fail this event,
Mm-hmm.
and no one would get the main reward. So Bungie had to go into the background, and it doesn't, like when you collect the thing and it shows up on the screen, hey, you've generated a Dawning Spirit. It does not show. They went in and they tripled the amount that it counts toward the community goal, but it just doesn't show up on your screen that way. So like if you generate one, it shows up as one on your screen. It doesn't show up as three.
Mm.
Yeah, and
So just
this is
tweaking the ratios in the background to make things work.
yeah, which is and from what I was reading in the article, this is not the first time Bungie has just grossly overestimated the amount of effort the community was going to put into something like this.
Well, you got to imagine, like, at this point, you're kind of long in the tooth on the game a little bit.
Oh yeah, I mean this is the Beyond Light is the third expansion for the
Mm-hmm.
game. And I remember we were talking about this originally a while ago, and I'm pointing at my screen like I got my camera on, like people can see me. I'm going to stop doing that. You had said, because I had kind of complained that, oh man, I can't do like the Red War anymore. I can't do any of that stuff. And you had asked if they had pulled a WoW and like Cataclysm the game.
Yeah.
Well, they kind of did.
Yeah. I figured that
Yeah.
was probably
So,
a big reason where it's like, oh, you can't do those things because we've brought the game up to date with the storyline or whatever.
the Traveler is now completely awake all the time. I mean, when Destiny 2 first started, that dude was asleep, and you had to find a way to knock him out of his little state.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, it's Destiny 2 is a pretty fun game. I like the story. We're getting into we're playing story missions now, which is great. I like doing that.
And
But yeah,
so
that's really it. And then on my phone, I just play Gundam on my phone.
and then we'll have for those patrons, we'll probably have more Gundam talk in the after show.
More Gundam talk.
Also, for those that aren't patrons, if you want to hear us talk about like the new Star Wars and Marvel shows, and me recommending Gundam shows to Philip, then you need to become a patron and get the after shows, which right now I'm calling the other bits.
The other bit.
Yeah, and so it was called the before and after. There was like the episode blah 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 before and after. Now I'm just calling it like the other bits. I don't know. Somebody can help me come up with a better name for like the outtakes. I don't like the. It's because
What do they call the 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 stuff that holds the stuff you punch out
the
from
punch
like a board
boards.
game? Well, do they just call them punch boards?
Yeah,
There's not like a special name for like the stuff you the part of that you just throw out.
yeah. That's just the punch board.
No, that wouldn't work too well.
We can figure it out later.
That's right.
But
We'll leave it in the community. Community, what do you want us
yeah,
to call?
exactly. Well, that was
other
that was kind of the point I was going with. Thank you, Philip.
Okay. You're welcome. I'm here. I'm just a couple of minutes behind.
Yeah, just a little. So I will say one other thing. I do need to give an Arkham update. So, we finished the Circle Undone campaign, and I loved it. It's probably my favorite campaign that we've done so far. And then we decided we were going to start a new one that's called The Forgotten Age. That's supposed to be like an Aztec-themed adventure through the jungle, like Indiana Jones kind of mystery thing. So we all made new characters, and we had heard, like I had read some stuff that people were like, just be ready to evade a lot instead of attacking. And I was like, okay, is it because like the enemies are really strong and powerful and whatnot? And so we made our decks with all that in mind. Play the first scenario, and no, it has nothing to do with that at all. It's just it's bad when you go around killing a bunch of enemies, because a lot of them have this, like, I think it was called vengeance keyword, which stacks every time you kill one of these things. And then like one of the like later in the scenario, bad things will happen depending on how high your vengeance level is. So if you've killed a lot in a scenario, it's like, well, crap, I'm getting like a -5 to each skill that I do or whatever. Yeah, so we played through that and we're like, we're not completing this scenario because it's just not possible for us. So it's like, okay, we either need to reattack this with making some new decks or play something else. And we were all like, yeah, but we kind of like the investigators and decks we made. So let's just play something else and we'll come back to this. So we instead went to the Dunwich Legacy, which is based on the Dunwich horror classic, classic Lovecraftian tale. It's the first box they came out with, and we had kind of skipped that and gone to Carcosa first. So this is the first one right after the core set. Okay. And we played through the first scenario, and Mike was like, is it just me, or is that really easy? Does that have to do with the fact that it's the first one, or we've played a lot, or was it just really easy? And I'm like, it's a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of we've played a lot, and we've got access to a lot more cards than when the game first came out. And it's also the first box they came up with.
Oh, yeah.
But, man, that doesn't mean that it's easy all the time. I will say that. Like, we did the second scenario, and that was one, like the second scenario, I thought we were going to have to lose and replay that one. But it had nothing to do with the actual scenario. We were just getting all the worst luck ever. Like, everybody was getting the crappiest card draws. We were failing all the stuff. Like, the scenario itself was pretty straightforward and easy. We just could not get anything to go our way.
Gotta believe in the heart of the cards, Chris.
Yeah, exactly. It was not with us. So there's like one part where this monster's chasing you and moving through. And like every time Doom stacks up and clears off, the monster moves, and you want to stop it from getting to this other point. And we're like, okay, we're doing the math. Like, okay, well, we've got so we've probably got like 4 more turns before it gets to near the place. And I had forgotten that the beginning scenario, because there's not a whole lot of cards, they rely heavily on the stuff that comes in the core set. And one of the scenario cards that comes in the core set that I hate so much is the card Ancient Evils. And that's because the only thing that the treachery card Ancient Evils does, it's one of the Mythos cards, the encounter cards you draw at the beginning of your turn.
Mm-hmm.
All it does is it adds a Doom onto the agenda, and it can cause the agenda to advance. Which we were dealing with an agenda that only had a very small amount on it, and then it reset as the monster would move. So you draw one, and you'd be like, dang, there's 1 turn gone off of our plan. And then, because this was our luck, we'd have like 2 to 3 people draw Ancient Evils in a row. And it's like, we just lost half the turns we thought we had.
Yeah.
Like, and then like we're like, oh, we need to pull this. Fail. And somehow we won. I don't know how. Like, it was one of those, like, we were all like, we're going to have to play this over. Yeah, we're going to have to play this over. But let's just go through just to make sure that we knew all the bells and whistles. And then we ended up winning.
Oh, nice.
And it was just like, how did that happen? So yeah, that's the one. At least that's the one game that we play on a pretty consistent basis. Is just about every week we're getting in some Arkham. Minus every now and then around the holidays, there's a week we miss, but we've been going pretty gung ho on that.
Yep.
So, like I said, thank you to our patrons that have been helping us out the past couple of months. You can go to patreon.com/boards and swords. If you want to help support us, you get access to the bonus episodes that we were talking about. Basically, and I think what I'm going to do is spread them out, because normally I kind of like drop the episode and then drop the bonus stuff right afterwards. I may space it out, so just instead you just get an episode every week instead of every other week.
Ooh.
Yeah, so you'll get like next week is when the episode will the first week of 2021 will be when this episode drops. The following week I'll drop the bonus bits from that episode. Ooh, that's probably a good term, bonus bits.
Bonus bits.
Yeah. And then, then the following week will be 167 or whatever. So, yeah, if you want
the bonus dice.
If you like everything that you like in this, but like more of it, like twice the amount of content, and not necessarily related on board games. In fact, those of the people that are patrons, there's a special Slack channel that's called like the Clubhouse. If there's specific topics or recommendations that you want us to talk about, post them in that Slack channel. Only patrons have access to that channel. So like if there's a special show or there's a specific anime you've been hearing us talk about that you want to be like, what about this version? Or what about this, show? Or have you seen this bit? Or have you ever seen this random cult classic movie? Then that's the place to throw that. Or if there's a news story, anything geeky-ish related that you want our opinions of, that's the kind of place. And you'll only hear that if you're a patron.
If you're this anime right here, you don't like this anime, you suck.
So with that, we do have some feedback there. We have because that is one thing people said is I do like the feedback incorporated in. So I do right. That's something I do want to keep going. But I'm going to expand it. So talking about that, just to reiterate in case you missed last episode, if you send an email, feedback@boardsandswords.com with just some feedback on what you like, don't like about the show, you are entered to win a chance of getting a special package sent to you that'll have some 2020 Boards and Swords dice and potentially some other goodies in there as well. And like I said, you have till the end of January to submit it. Doesn't need to be super complicated or detailed. You could even just, like, I said last time, like, I don't care if it's just like everything you're doing, it's great. And literally somebody, not that exact thing word for word, but that essence. And I'm like, thank you. Even that's good enough. That's some sort of validation versus my brain playing tricks with me going, maybe, maybe not. So, but
replace the bald guy.
Yeah. So I've been posting on the Facebook and Slack saying like, hey, what questions do you have for us? But I will say, if you have questions and you aren't a part to either one of those things, then you can just send questions that you have for us. Or is there something we talk about that you have a response to? That sort of thing. Feedback@boardsandswords.com, and I will read them on the next episode or the next applicable episode per se. So I have one. I got one comment in here because I didn't post it until today. Daniel Chadwick mentioned in the Facebook group. He said, "What is your favorite board game adjacent memory?" So he clarifies, he says, not the game you played, but something about the moment you were in playing the game. And I already know this for Philip.
Oh, because I won't shut up about it.
Yeah. And he details his. He says, for example, my friends and I went to Gen Con 2017 and we played games in Lucas Oil Stadium. We're all big football fans, so we were nerding out to be playing board games on the 50-yard line of an NFL team. Very cool moment. That's one of those things that, like, I keep saying I'm going to do, and then I never do, just because that is a really cool thing of being like, we're playing board games on like an NFL field. but just so much going on at Gen Con that I just never get around to it. I've actually never been out that way, other than I've been outside the stadium because I parked out that way once.
Oh
But like I've
yeah.
never been in the convention part.
Oh yeah, I went there. I went in there last year. I had. I mean, well, because like
Just to look
remember last
around.
year? Oh yeah, just look around. Last year I signed up for like 3 things total,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, and so the rest of my time, like I really just spent wandering around, and I was like, yeah, but like I mean, there was so much going on, and
Mm-hmm.
all the like stuff happening in the not really stuff happening in the stands, but like people are just sitting in the stands taking a break or maybe organizing some stuff, looking at their purchases. I think I might have seen a couple people like vlogging just right there, bam,
Yeah. Oh yeah, that hallway's
stadium.
great for that kind of, and leading up into that area.
Oh
I,
yeah, and the hallway leading up to it, that was cool. Oh, that's cool with the they had the arcade cabinets again this year
yeah.
in that
So
hallway. Yeah.
I'll get back to your question, but just because you got us thinking about Gen Con, I want to say like if Gen Con happens this year and if we go to Gen Con, because those could be two different things. Because you got
No,
to do
we're all gonna cosplay as environmental hazard suit guys.
but I definitely think this year I'm not going to do as many events, both running events and um, playing in events, because I think it's going to be more just doing stuff um, it's going to be more just scheduling time with friends. That's like, hey, let's go. Like
With
people that you didn't see,
people that we missed
yeah,
this year.
like
That's
various
100%
people that's just like, hey, let's play. Like, sure, I won't play an official like Gen Con event things. This could change, but like it'd be like, maybe unless I'm scheduling it with a group of friends, like, hey, let's all go play Pathfinder together. That kind of thing. I think that's what the Gen Con this year is going to be more of. And like in the afternoons, just like finding groups of friends and sitting in the hallways playing board games until 1 a.m.
yeah.
instead of playing games in the convention center until 1 a.m. playing different RPGs. I have a feeling that's what I'm yearning for at least this year. But getting back to board game adjacent memory, Philip, do you want to tell it for the 50th time?
I will excuse me, sir, it's only the 40th. All right, so my favorite board game adjacent memory is a few years ago. We are all at a friend's bachelor party,
Oh, this
and
isn't the I knew it was I thought of something else, but you do tell this one often too.
you'll have to type the. Oh, you talking about
Happy Salmon.
Oh, I mean that was no, that was actually in the game with the game.
Sure.
Because of the game that happened. So this one is we're at our friend's bachelor party, and I don't know, there's like 12, 15 of us in this house, and a bunch of people are upstairs playing beer pong. Because I mean, bachelor party, we were all kind of frat boyish that weekend, so sure, we were playing beer pong. I had about 3 or 4 people, and I had brought. No, I think the house had actually provided a bunch of board games, and Munchkin was one of them. So I break it out and I start teaching it to some people, and we're playing. We play through a game, and all right, cool. So and they all kind of jump in, and I let someone else take my place because maybe 1 or 2 people had filtered down. And as I'm kind of like just walking around, watching people play, answering some questions, listening, grabbing a drink, I went upstairs and you could kind of sense that there was like a shift in the energy in the house. Like, yeah, people are playing beer pong and everything upstairs, and it's going great, and they're having a good time. But there's like this vibe coming from downstairs, and it slowly just filtered to everybody stopped playing beer pong and went downstairs to start playing Munchkin. And I like sitting back and looking at that, and like that is kind of amazing of like the power of board games.
The power of board games. I've been sitting here. If you see me glazed off while he was talking, it's because I was trying to figure out what mine was.
It's
Like,
I just figured it was because
huh?
I just figured it was because I was talking. You've heard the story a bunch of times.
Well, I mean, there was that. I'm trying to think. All right, I have two, but one might be too tied in with the actual game played, so that's why I'm having a backup. So the one I'm talking about is it was PAX Unplugged 2017, the first PAX Unplugged. So I went with our friend Randy. It was like his first big gaming convention. Like he's done Star Wars convention type things, and he had done tournaments, but this was his first like gaming con. And so after he was playing in the X-Wing tournament because he loved X-Wing, and at the end of the night he would meet up with me, and he called me the White Rabbit because like I would just be looking on Twitter and be like, "Oh, there's this thing happening, let's go." So there's a meetup happening here with these people, let's go. And then he's like following the White Rabbit. So I got a text, or I got a thing on Twitter asking to play in an RPG. And it was two of my friends, Danny Neary and Darcy Ross, the big people in the Cypher System universe. In fact, Darcy used to be one of their marketing customer relations people. She's moved on to other things, but they're like, "Oh, we're going to be playing with this." I'm bleeping out on his name right now, but that's because I'm just having a brain fart. But it's the COO of Monty Cook Games is running a game, and she's like, "We've got an open spot. Do you want to play?" And I'm like, yeah. And then I'm like, "Do you have another open spot? Because I've got a friend here sitting with me that would love to play." And they're like, "Yeah, sure." And so we end up, it's like 11 o'clock. We go to like the meet up with them at the convention center. We end up having to move back to our hotel because the convention center like locks at 12, like they kick everybody out. So we went to like the restaurant level in our hotel, like the second level had the restaurant, and they had like a lounge area. And we were there till like 4 a.m. playing. Like it was one of those, we were just so in the game, and it was one of the best RPGs I've ever played. And then it's like you look up and you're like, "Oh my God, it's 4 a.m." And it was great. It was a zombie themed, just generic Cypher System game where it's kind of like the show It's even said it was based on the show The Last Ship.
Okay.
Set in, not exactly, but kind of inspired by that sort of where we were having to raid like a army base or something for supplies and just the various things that happen. But it was intense, and it was something Randy and I were talking about later, where it's just like you hear that so and so is the COO of, and you just think like, yeah, he's creative and nerdy, but in like a different way. Like, he's got the production and the logistical sense down. Like that's what you think of when someone talks about it. And it's like, no, he's just as equally creative and as great of a like game master as the people making the game. I mean, sure, he's making the games too, but I'm saying like, no, they're all like that. It's not just some of their workers. They're all like that creative. And then the one memory I'll say that actually it's gaming adjacent, definitely has to be the 6 a.m. press line Gen Con events.
Yes.
Definitely. This is where like
6 a.m., dude, you're already late.
No, we were there at 6 a.m. It didn't open up until 8, and we got there 2 hours early.
Oh, I thought it was 7. We got there.
I don't remember. Either way, it was like 5 a.m., 6 a.m.
2 hours early.
Yeah. We're like, it's all the press people are wanting to get into the hall an hour early, so everyone's sitting in this line, just waiting for an hour or 2 hours to pass, and you end up seeing like all these people that you've listened to their shows, and it's the one time they're not gaming because they're half asleep. So you can have just kind of random funny discussions because again you're half asleep, and like that's how we met some people like Richmond. That's how we met. That was like where we met up and hung out. Was like the 6 a.m. press line each year.
Every year we're gonna be here. Boom. That's all right. That's our
Not
spot.
anymore, but
yeah, no. I mean, like it was fun getting in those couple years for an hour early. Now it's just like.
Well, the problem is it got to the point where it impacted the entire Gen Con because that sleep deprivation the first night just dragged.
really killed you.
You just realized you're better off sleeping in because you'll get in within 15, 30 minutes anyways. Sure, the game you might want is sold out, but oh well, it's a game.
But the Gen Con exclusives.
Yeah, but definitely that first year when and of all the years, because it also got to the point where less and less people were of the press people we knew were willing to wait early in the morning, and everybody's like, yeah, either I'm not going to go or I'm going to get ties with companies so that I can get in early.
Yep, that one too.
Yeah, so. That first year though, which would have been 2015, I think was the first year we went.
Yeah, that's 15.
Either that or that one, and then 2016. 2016 might have been better because that was also the first year that Corey and Jimmy went.
Yes.
So that one might have been the biggest one. But that was definitely my kind of biggest moment because it was also we're still very like, even just me doing the show by myself, it was still very early phases, so it's kind of like, oh my gosh, I'm new at this, and there's all these people that I've watched all their stuff, and kind of that geeking out because you're seeing so and so.
Yep.
But those are definitely my gaming adjacent memories, and now I'm getting sad because it's going to be like another 6-7 months before there's even the possibility of a Gen Con.
Yeah.
I think once it's able to have like game nights, I'm just gonna need like a weekend where we're like, all right, we're locking ourselves in board games.
We're gonna have the Dirtbag Invitational.
That's what it's coming down to. That's it'll have to be like as soon as it's safe to do so. The Invitational needs to happen.
Yep.
I think that's a good point to end on.
I think that is.
So why don't you roll that beautiful beef footage there?
Okay, I've clicked it like 12 times, dude. I also have a. Kill it. As everything.
You start, you know that, right?
What? I hang on. That's our show, everybody. Thanks for watching. If you like this, you're gonna love our other podcast, The Dirtbags of Holding. That's where we take all of the best RPGs. We might even take that new one we talked about today and completely screw it up in ways the developers could never imagine.
All right. Feedback at boardsandswords.com. If you got comments and questions and want us to talk about them on the show, please send us them. Also, we're on social media. Facebook.com/boardsandswordspod is our official page. On Twitter, you can find me at Boards and Swords, and on Instagram, I'm at Boards Swords Chris. And you can find Philip as at Phil the Dirtbag on Twitter. This podcast is also a part of Punchboard Media. For other great gaming podcasts, check out punchboardmedia.com. And lastly, thank you so much for listening. Once again, please check out patreon.com/boardsandswords to help support the show. And we'll be back in another 2 weeks with another episode. in 2021. We'll see you there. In the meantime, remember that every gamer has a story, and Philip says he just blue screen and just texted me that.